everybody's like, oh, well, this is bad publicity, and people are, are saying fuck him and boycotting and protesting and all that. But what you gotta realize is that like Kanye's been dealing with a level of like occultism and esoteric, like principle for a long time too, and that's the whole thing. Is energy's energy. Like energy's energy. Like
you say cultism, you mean like his like
occult stuff, like magic, esoteric, kind of stuff. Like spiritism and all that kind of stuff, like alchemy and so on and so forth. So him doing his knowledge in that realm, I can kind of see why he's just like, fuck it, like energy's energy. You're saying my name, and you're feeding this ego, this
ego is hard
this being that is, that's Kanye West. You're just feeding it,
right.
Whether you think it's good or bad. Like there's at a certain point, especially in that realm of study, like you transcend the dualities of good and bad. It just becomes like what it is. Like there are gods now that are worshipped that were pure evil,
right.
and or evil as far as we comprehend. So
I'm gonna get into that a little bit more, man.
Show me, man. What this shit.
I was telling Will, like, you was very opinionated, dude. That's what I love about you. Like, I think a lot of artists, sometimes not even on purpose, be like, they gotta be cool. They gotta be like super reserved. They gotta come in the room and just sit in the corner, and you gotta ask them a question. They gotta give you some omnipresent answer of everything is everything, brother. You know what I'm saying? Some shit like that. Like, you always speak your mind.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna reference the Afrofuturism and Beyond panel moment when the dude, which I mean, it feels like his heart was in the right place, maybe.
Well, I heard about you, boy, giving him in.
You know what I'm talking about?
That was still like it still wasn't. It was still reserved. I wish I would have.
It was, but no,
I had so much I wanted to say.
But you got the perfect level of reserve, like the whole I'm at the art museum. I'm gonna keep it to this level. But you still, at the same time, you get this work. And like, he was scared when he was on the mic shaking. He was like, I just want to know how to do this. So I wanted to reference all that.
Oh yeah.
But that's it. Actually, the question I got on the should we as artists? I think about this a lot before I perform. Anytime I have a show, well, I know it's gonna be mostly black people. I'm gonna have some white audience members who don't know what to expect. I'm gonna cater to my black audience members first and foremost. But sometimes you get that thought of like, should I pull back a little bit? Should I make people comfortable? I don't want people to go back and, like, for instance, I'm part of the RICH program downtown, where we do a lot to help the community and help kids at-risk youth. So like, we have a tree outside with wooden guns with the names of everybody we've lost to gun violence. It's literally just wooden guns that we hung on the street and just, we give praise to the ancestors and everything. Sometimes we go out there and pray a little bit. So we just talk about them, whatever. People have called the police on us, talking about we promote gang violence.
Wow.
People come down and rip all the shits off the tree.
Wow.
We really had to get the city to put up a sign and be like, yo, this is to just memorialize people we lost to gang violence. Like, that's it. That's all it is. It's just a tribute to get people to stop messing with the tree. So sometimes you get that moment of, man, do I need to tone
it down?
Yeah. So,
and those are the moments I'm just like,
to 11 motherfuckers. People like,
I'm all up in your shit now. That'd be a whole nother level of cultivated ignorance.
that's what we about, bro. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what about. We gonna talk about some black progression. We're gonna touch some education, art, all that good stuff. But we also gonna get into this black shit.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? So let me share this on live video. You ready to go, man?
Yeah, man. Ready whenever you are.
I'm always ready. I'm not right now.
Bro, don't be putting my name on your list, man.
What are you doing?
Don't be putting my...
Bro, first of all, don't get body slammed in front of Krigga. She was winking at me during the movie.
Bro, all that luck came from me.
No.
Bro, she was always like me. Like, that was so funny.
You seen Deadpool 2 yet?
Mm-hmm.
You know Zazie Beetz
From Atlanta?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. You don't want no TV.
Wait, what's her?
That's her real name.
Who's she in Atlanta?
Vanessa.
Oh, yeah.
That's my baby mom.
Mm-hmm.
That baby.
She's in that? She's in Deadpool?
Yeah. She plays Domino.
Oh, she's German.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize. Because I remember the episode in Atlanta when they're in that German fest.
Yeah, I was surprised they brought her real life into.
I love that though.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they have they put that in there and the way they interweave it into their relationship and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Episode, my mom was like, hell, she was like, I didn't get that one.
Your mom watch the show?
She does, because I put her on to it. Zazie Finance.
She made music or something?
No, that's her real name.
Oh, really?
Is that her real name? Yeah.
Oh.
That's her real name, bro.
We don't do too much talking. So I don't know.
You don't care about it. I care about it. I'll be trying to talk to her.
You know you ready, bro?
I'm ready.
All right, so we got to take a little brief pause. That way I can clear the sound up later on. So just for a few seconds. What up? Welcome back to another episode of Cultivating Ignorance.
Hey, watch it.
I am Will, the real host.
I am Mike, the only host. Will is just the production manager.
This week, we are joined by the wonderful, the dope, the talented Afrofuturist artist, Dogon Krigga.
Peace. Glad to be here.
Extremely talented artist, man.
Yeah, I was looking at, once Mike said you were going to be on the show, I was looking at some of your artwork and I was like, okay. So, and then after I saw it, I started noticing the Afrofuturist, I guess, art in like a bunch of different things, like a little bit in Black Panther. I don't want to say the wrong shit, so like, and be corrected, but I think I saw a little bit in Black Panther. I've seen some, just splash, like the website too, the little, I don't know what it's called, the thing that happens on every page.
That light box.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
That's a. Okay,
that was dope. This week we got a great show. We're gonna be talking about black shit as always. We're gonna be talking about Kendrick Lamar, Pusha T, and Drake. And
we're gonna talk about this body that pushes out of cancer.
Bro, I don't know, man, because I went back and I heard W freestyle again.
Shit was invented.
That shit hits hard. It
is hard, but who hit harder?
I don't know, bro. I
don't know,
bro.
Yeah, you do, bro.
I don't know, bro. I ain't gonna call it.
Pusha took it to a he was just more disrespectful. And I guess, dude, at the end of the day, it's a diss. So I guess the name of the game is how disrespectful.
That's what more than diss. That's what.
Yeah, Pusha went there.
But we're gonna be talking about that and how Drake can possibly win.
It's not looking good. Drake look like Cavaliers right now.
We gonna shut up, man. Brian can do it. We're gonna be talking about Warriors Cavs. What is this, the fourth one in a row?
It is, bro. It's up every time.
Yeah, this is terrible. And also we're gonna talk about the NFL's new policy, which
while Will loves it.
I don't know about all that. I don't know if I love it. I'm just saying. We'll talk about it when we get there. But anyways, Mike's gonna get to these church announcements real quick.
Cool, man. For those that don't know, I always try to shout out local black events or any events or basically get together featuring black artists. This week we got, actually June 1st, we got Moon Cricket. You familiar with Moon Cricket, John?
Yes, I am. Actually got to meet one of the guys in the band.
Which one? Nancy or
Nancy? Yeah. And I got to meet him a while ago, so I'm excited. I'm going to be there.
So you never seen him perform yet?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we gotta go. They performing at Wild Wing tomorrow night, June 1st. Just round about 9:30. Incredible band. They always close out my show. They be singing like they have a lot of original music, but they sing a lot of dope covers of like Little Dragon, Frank Ocean sometimes. Incredible, and Robert III is insanely good as a producer. They work together quite well. My whole situation,
bro, because this is what you're doing, okay? You're doing this right here, and you're blocking the mic immediately.
I'm trying to hold back this heat. This audience is
from that hot breath. Okay. Continue.
Ozzy loves it. All right, so that's happening June 1st. June 3rd, we got Poetry versus Hip Hop, hosted by Queen Sheba, a good friend of mine. She's insanely dope. For those that don't know about Poetry versus Hip Hop, they have a lineup of poets and a lineup of MCs go against each other, kind of like a battle rap stanza thing, sort of, kind of. It's insanely dope. My girl Tamika State is gonna be in it this year. It's going down at Pearls, 8 o'clock. Come out for that. I think that's cost money though. Might want to look on Eventbrite for that one. I try to do the free events.
Freebies?
Yeah, I try to give you all the freebies. Such as my show, which is going on June 5th. Blue Note Poetry at 8 o'clock at Speakeasy. This month we're going to be featuring Raw Beauty, who is my favorite human in the world, and Darwin the Immortal, which is the most unpredictable human in the world. If you've never seen Darwin perform, this dude comes out here in costumes. He's going to have fog machines.
It's like the daylight of
Yes, exactly. I love that. I'm telling that next time I see him. Niggas are pretty much daylight. You be having all kind of props. And Raw Beauty, she sings, she raps a little bit. Insanely dope performance. Please come out for that. Lastly, I got for my Georgia peoples, I got to shout out Shaw Jules event in Augusta, Georgia. That's Dope Spit. I think this week featuring Asia Lee. It's going down at K Buffaloes and like I said, Augusta, Georgia. If you know Shaw Jules, insanely dope spoken word artist. She featured for me at Blue Note as well. So hers is $5. So sorry it's not a lot of freebie this week, but y'all spend some money with this black artist, please. Thank you. All right,
so Mr. Dogon. All right. So before Mike told me, I didn't really know anything about Afrofuturism.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know the concept, the history, whatever. Can you kind of explain to us what it is and kind of what got you into or what pushed your art that way?
Mm-hmm. So Afrofuturism there's a few different ways you could look at it and explain. I guess the best way I could really give it to you. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Edit that out. I saw you take the headphones off. I didn't know if we were.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah,
we record it all the time.
Oh, we're okay. All right.
We got cameras around here and everything.
Okay, so I think the best way to really describe Afrofuturism is a creative and spiritual modality. Mm-hmm. It's a way that Black people, descendants of African people, make art that transcends time and transcends time and transcends the idea of linear time that is popular in the West. Mm-hmm. Originally, a lot of our indigenous African people, a lot of cultures and traditional African religions understood time to be a recursive model. Basically, time moves in cycles. It's not just a straightforward, constantly moving in one direction, but time moves in cycles. And which is interesting because, a lot of the ways that we deal with time in the West still moves in cycles. I deal with here, but it's the fact that that you can impact the past via the future and impact the future via the past, all in this ever present now moment. So it deals heavily in a lot of tenets that are shared amongst diaspora, Black diasporic traditions, the ancestral veneration, but we do work for the ancestors, the ones that came before us, and we also do work for those that are coming after us as well. It's something that we've always done, but the name Afrofuturism, and it's interesting too because I'm starting to stray away from using that term because it was coined by a white guy. Really? when he was originally speaking on it. Yeah, right. There are other names for what we do.
What was the dude's name?
Should I have to look it up?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. But there's Black quantum futurism. There's Black speculative arts, and it really it became a response to the ways that science fiction essentially erased Black people from the future. You look at sci-fi from the 50s and 60s, like up until, you know, even still, like there are still sci-fi plots where, you know, we're hundreds of thousands of years into the future, and there's like maybe 2 Black guys, or none at all. Right. You know, in the 60s and 70s, there was none of that. But then, you know, you have Sun Ra and George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic, and, you know, Bootsy Collins and all these guys coming out in spaceships, like talking about future, talking about time being, you know, being just this construct, and, you know, it's not really real. And Octavia Butler writing books that are, you know, some straight up, you know, like real, like traditional science fiction, you know, all kinds of things. You know, we got, you know, like vampires and time traveling, people like going back in time, rescuing their ancestors from slavery, and, you know, like all kind of like, you know what I'm saying, like all kind of like, you know, super dope shit. But it's you know, themes similar to, you know, the stuff we would see that, you know, Star Trek or, you know, Star Wars and so on and so forth. But it's us, you know, and it's a necessary response, because so much of science fiction, and particularly space travel and ideas of outer space, is all militaristic. It's all captains and ensigns on a ship, and, you know, they're, you know, exploring other planets and really just practicing white colonialism in space, and enough of that. So it's like, you know, we come from space too, and we go to space as well, and we, you know, we interact with all these same themes, but in a way that's not, and it's not just, you know, white science fiction with Black people. You know, a lot of our stuff isn't even, you know, it's based in, you know, revolutionary action, or it's based in us undoing the damage that was done to us by white colonialism and everything, and us celebrating the diversity that's offered by the intergalactic community, and, you know, technology and so on and so forth. There are so many different ways you can go with it. But yeah, so I came into it, I was just doing this, and that's really I guess the story for a lot of art that you would consider Afrofuturism, or just the story for Black people doing this kind of creativity. We were just doing it, you know, and this name comes along and it makes sense. It's like, oh, that's what we're doing. So, you know, I was you know, I've been studying all kinds of, you know, esoteric, spiritual, you know, occult, you know, sciences and stuff for a long time, and I started putting that into my art, and you know, it's experimenting with, you know, different concepts, ancient sciences, alchemy, and, you know, so on, and, you know, just kind of mixing together things I like, that, you know, real cosmic, trippy kind of, you know, vibe. And I was just like, oh, I heard about Afrofuturism because a good friend of mine, she has a foundation called the Afrofuturist Affair up in Philly that does events and hosts workshops, and just, you know, brings resources to artists. It's amazing. Like, I did my first show with them, and it was just like, I just didn't want to leave. I was like, oh, let's stay here forever, and just, you know, and be this. And, you know, I am just not in Philly. I gotta go back. But yeah, you know, so doing that, I was like, oh, that's what that is. And I started looking more into it, and seeing other artists that were kind of classified. Now I was like, I see a home now. Yeah. And then because of that, then I started, you know, there are elements that I started adapting more, and encouraged me to study more about, of our ancient traditions, our ancient cosmologies, and so on, and start, you know, really putting that into the work. And, you know, and it took on something, a much deeper meaning, because before it was really just aesthetics for me. It was just a look of, you know, I'll take some, I'll just take some dope outer space shit and, some black shit, kind of just, mash it together. And it looks good. And then, there is a meaning in that. But the more I studied, the more I started to really get into like how I can use technology, because I'm a digital artist. I'm digital and I do, more like traditional, hands-on. I do cut and paste collage as well. How I can use technology to essentially create portals in which we can give things to our ancestors and receive things from our ancestors through this artwork, and then to other people in the present. So, I started creating images that will serve us here and now by reminding us of who we were, and then reminding us also that, who we were and who we are still has a place outside of the future, because this white patriarchal society, they want to erase us, and that was the subtle ideas of sci-fi in the future. There's a reason why there wasn't black people. They didn't want us in the future. Like, to them, in 1,000 years we'd all be dead. So we're not doing that.
I gotta pause this real quick. It's going on weird. I'm trying to let me think. I'm gonna stop this call. Shut up. The shit back in.
Did it sound alright?
It was picking up all the recording. I just gotta make sure it's gonna be safe. So I can exit out and go back in. We can keep, start over. So if it fails, you're gonna say all that over again.
I'll try to condense it, because I have a tendency to ramble. And I start reading the points and just pushing it all into one long thing, and then
Afrofuturism is concepts that lets us bring at the label location.
Click file.
You send your label location.
So what?
Label location, this is the recorded audio was lost at the label location. Ooh.
What the fuck is that?
Ooh. Oh, no, I'm not sure to make it sound proper. I don't really know, but I will have to match that shit up. Make it sound like,
All right.
Save project. I was watching. Sorry.
I would probably export the sound to this one.
So Kanye's album is dropping tonight at 9?
At 9?
I just saw that on Facebook.
Who's it? Must be not Pacific.
People talking about it.
Bro, I'm gonna listen.
Yeah, you got the shit pre-ordered. I thought I know when you gonna drop the album. Right after the Push album just came out last week.
No, even Push said Kanye's album comes out this Friday.
I thought he was lying.
Why would Push lie?
I mean,
just to do it? Just to throw Drake off?
I mean, he on 10 right now. Like he
can lie about. He can talk about it.
He can say whatever he wants at this point.
Audio exported. So.
Well, all these shit's supposed to be 7 tracks, ain't it?
Mm-hmm. All right, we back up.
All right.
You remember what you were going to ask?
Oh yes, I do.
All right.
Okay.
And go.
All right. So I was thinking about that. Like as far as you see movies, sci-fi movies, and you don't see no black people. I was wondering, is it that they really are trying to erase us, or we just not their concern? Like black life isn't necessarily their concern, so they just wouldn't have the mindset to think about the fact like we need an adequate amount of black people in this cast or whatever.
Well, I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off. I know you, but that just seems like a little bit too harsh, right? I mean, like if you think about money-wise, black people don't make up that much of the population, especially back in the day. Black people ain't have no money to go see these movies, these Star Treks and all these other shits that didn't have black people in it.
But we did.
In their mind,
But yeah, that's the thing, and like so to your point, it's both. It was a we weren't considered, but then it was also like I don't want to I don't want to give them too much credit for not being insidious because like they proved time and time again that they are. I believe that and it will especially before now and even still now, but I feel that they will definitely make a point to exclude black people from things because they feel that they have a birthright to.
And it's especially true when you like when they do have like a couple black characters. It was like one like black funny character. Take Power Rangers. One of my childhood favorite shows.
Zach was always black.
Zach was always black. He wasn't like he was always black. But
he was the only character that had like a gun.
Like a black top.
Flat top. They had a hatchet for a weapon. I don't know how black that is.
That doubled as a gun though.
But Zach was black. Zach, they actually had like a whole episode dedicated to Zach. It's the only one I have on VHS. It was my favorite episode. But like,
which episode is it? The one where it's like a body double? They all have doubles.
No, it was like Putty Trouble. Like
that's like every episode.
I think it was called Putty Trouble. I wouldn't be surprised if I remember this shit. But like a bunch of putties were like mimicking his real friends, and like he noticed something was off. He went to school. Everybody's acting weird.
They was treating him right.
He doesn't say he called me a nigga today. Like what's going on? But like he's doing something else. Anyway, he had a whole episode to himself, which is dope. It's like because I think it's because he's a popular character. But at the same time, every single Red Ranger has been that white, all-American, buff ass dude. You know what I'm saying? Even the strong anti-hero like Green Ranger. Well, I don't know if you remember the Gold Ranger had to be like some white dude too. So it's like
the Green Ranger was the one like it. The Green and White Ranger.
Wait, was that the Gold Ranger?
That wasn't Gold Ranger.
Gold Ranger was the shit.
In Mighty Morphin Power Ranger?
Not Mighty Morphin.
It was
the rest of that don't count, but okay.
The Alien Rangers.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Oh yeah.
You're right here. Yeah.
Right, you don't count.
Mighty Morphin, it injured me after that. After the movie where Ivan Ooze was telling
that was
me.
the jam right there.
That shit was moving. You watch that shit as a grown human. That's just awful.
I watched it though. I watched it not too long ago. But yeah, Ivan Ooze was selling weed all day.
He was.
And after that, it kind of like it started getting into all the other stuff.
Okay, they had the Ninja Ranger, so I guess you.
Yeah, and they had the Ninjetti and all that. That was cool, but after that, it was just like it's not the original cast anymore. Like, I don't know how many of the original writers are like involved in, but then honestly, it was a grown up thing too. I was like, fuck that shit. It's like for kids, whatever. So like,
I don't know.
Move on to other things.
It's true. I cut it off at Turbo. The Turbo movie came out. I was like, I don't know we'll drop.
Did you see the new one though?
We did.
Ooh, that new one was good.
It was good.
I was a big fan.
You ever go to movies?
We didn't go to movies. Like, I think the next one's gonna be better because it felt like very much let's start this like series of Power Ranger movies. So they had to get the whole. My only fault with it wasn't a whole lot of Power Rangers to the end.
Yeah, they spent like a whole hour building the backstory, and it's just like, man, y'all could have condensed that. There's too much other stuff. They spent way too much time, and then mastering their abilities. They spent way too much time with that, and it's just like, the movie bottomed out and had to start back up again, and the whole back and forth of them finding their powers and all that. And it was cool. It was cool representation though.
It was.
Had Billy. He was a black kid. He's on the spectrum. He was only true
he was like a super nerd.
Yeah.
He was on the spectrum of what?
Autism spectrum. Huh? He was on the autism spectrum.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He says it in the movie.
I don't remember that part.
I feel like I remember something.
That was cool. And heavily black women in it though, so
It's like, y'all got a smart black dude. That's all we give y'all right now.
And it's more that the tokenism, but
I know.
Yeah. I throw everything away. I can't.
So, you still on Afrofuturism?
Yeah.
So, what inspires you when you create new pieces? Like, what inspires you as far as just getting new concepts, new ideas because you be having some out of this world type of shit. Like, I don't know if you use like substances that like inspire you, or it's just your brain just goes somewhere else. But like, what gets you like the new idea?
I mean, it's my own spiritual practices and the ways that I do work for my ancestors and just interact there, and that pushes me and leads me to make a particular statement, and then just my own experiences. Yeah, actually I'm a big proponent for plant medicine. The psychedelics and what that can do for humanity, how that can heal people, heal the mind and the body. So I've been lucky enough to be able to sit in ceremonies and with real shamans who have been studying this all their life, ancient plant medicine, and experiences that I've had there end up coming into my artwork. Paying homage to the spirits that visited me, or I was able to visit during then, and the healing I received and the healing I wish to share with others, and encourage people to see the symbols and allow the symbols that I put in my art to work for them, and start to study as well. As we have such a rich history of just true spiritual profundity that, I mean, and it's for us.
Right.
It's specifically for us. It was created by us and it's been maintained by us, and it has a place in the future as well.
Right.
And there's so much that we can, so when you start, there's so much healing we can do. So it's really like, once you really get into it and understand, start putting yourself in these or putting yourself like just in the mindset and interacting with that kind of energy and those kind of spirits and everything, you start to see our transition from the motherland to the new world, through a different lens. You see a lot of I guess of hidden power and tradition that we kept, and that's exactly how we were able to carry our traditions from there to here. There's things that we still do now to this day that stem back hundreds if not thousands of years in ancient West and Central African traditions. For instance, one of my last shows, the show we did at City Gallery in Charleston last year during Moja Festival, was called Libation. If you don't, for those of you that don't know, libation is the act of offering alcohol to your ancestors. So in most traditional African religious practices, there's the act of giving alcohol, giving spirits, whether it's some type of wine or
40
a lot of literally that. Like, we pour out 40s for our homies because in Santeria and Lukumi and voodoo and hoodoo, like we're giving blessings to our ancestors with with rum or with whatever the drink was, and that awakens the spirits. Like that liquor is called spirits for a reason. Like we've all, and then you see in other places too, like communion, that's wine. Like in so many different ways, we're still carrying over our traditions into places that don't even seem like there is there's an ancient tradition, there's an ancient practice taking place when it's niggas remembering their fallen homies, pouring out liquor, pouring out malt liquor for them. That's a real thing. So libation was kind of based on that. I put a lot of that into my art. In hip hop culture, especially, there's a lot of things that that carry over.
Sure. So like with that, especially like after Black Panther came out, it was like, well, it's been going on for a few years, but after Black Panther came out, people were saying like you should trace your roots. Not just seeing if you're composed of white, Spanish, this, that, and the third, but we should do the actual, African ancestry. You know what I mean? So how important is that to you to, you say you give, you do things for your ancestors and your art, is influenced by your ancestors and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
How important do you think it is for us to actually not just celebrate our ancestors in, just them being our ancestors, but actually connect and find those actual roots through, whatever means you decide to do it?
It's very important, I think, because I feel like so much of our plight was from us seeming to have been cut off from our ethnic heritage.
Mm-hmm.
You try to, and I experienced this myself actually doing the I think I did like the ancestry test and got my readout, and you can get they'll do your DNA read, and it's like those things aren't the most accurate for a certain reason.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're not the most accurate because they can really only trace one particular like path. Like all your ancestors double up every generation. So we have 2 parents and 4 grandparents and 8 grandparents and 16 great grandparents. They can only really follow one path, so they can't really give you a full idea of who was who or whatever. But for what they do, what they can give you, I mean that's more than what we had before.
Yeah.
We try to trace our ancestry back, and I mean it's a dead end at the early 1900s or the 1800s. And the most you had was like your the family's last names, which were the slave owners' names, and maybe you could find information about them to find out more about where you came from. But like it was a deliberate removal of our cultural identities. They intentionally split up. They would take in tribes, and there were people from a certain region or a certain tribe, and we get split up, we get sold off here, there, whatever. And that's what's interesting about some of the diasporic traditions. So if you look at like Santeria, for instance, Santeria is literally just like New World Ifa. Like they took the practice of Orisha worship from Ifa, which came from the Yoruba people of Nigeria, and it's the same thing, but it's Ifa practice with like Catholic syncretism. I don't know if I said that word right. Syncretism. It was made syncretic, so they use the Catholic saints as almost as a cover to continue to worship. To continue to worship the Orisha, to worship the pantheon of gods and spirits from Ifa, from the old world, from the motherland. So that's just one example. Like Paulo Mayombe came from the Congo and was brought over here. The reason why Ifa was able to do what they did, most of the Yoruba slaves came to Cuba. And that's pretty much where it was founded. And it was, a lot of them were able to stay because it's an island, like and it wasn't so much more travel compared to a lot of us that hit the mainland and got dispersed from all the way from really the entire country. Like they try to paint the idea that slavery was just contained to from Texas to Virginia, but no, we were everywhere. So. And it became just a lot more mixing. They intentionally stripped us of our cultural practices. Like we couldn't have our drums, we weren't allowed to even congregate. So we had to do a lot of things in secret. And then, so one of the only places we were allowed to congregate was the church. Right. And that's why, particularly like you look at hoodoo, and you look at a lot of our old Southern Black Baptist and Episcopalian and Lutheran like practices and AME and all that stuff. That's actually like one of the last not last, but like one of the bastions of ancient Black traditions, ancient like African traditions carried over and preserved in the ways that we engage with spirit, green shouts, and understanding how like rhythm and drums drive the spiritual experience, and music, and like pastors that, you know, really like that can, you know, channel and bring down the spirit and push that to the congregation and create this whole like this epic experience of spirituality. We were doing that. That's exactly what it, you know, what it looked like when we were, you know, in the motherland, like doing this in our, you know, in our villages, like doing this in our own sacred spaces, you know. So
that's the cultivating part of the show, man. Like that's what we got you on here.
Now let's get ignorant.
Twerking and shit.
also has roots in, in traditional African practices. So I won't go into that.
I've done that in my soul already.
Let's bring it on. Let's connect. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask you, so with the, I guess, so you already touched on like how the resurgence of like Black Power, like this is before the show started, but we were talking about how everyone's like not all of a sudden pro-Black, but since the Trayvon Martin killing, everyone's kind of found their Blackness like at an all-time high right now as far as our generation. I was looking at the same thing with Afrofuturism, with everybody kind of jumping on board with the train with Black Panther, with it rising in the art community and all that good stuff. Do you feel like it's for the best, or do you see like the community kind of getting watered down? Like being like a poet, like I hear a lot of poets who've been doing this like for a living say like the poetry community is getting watered down because anybody can get on the mic and do whatever, which I'm all for. I think you should be able to at least try. But do you feel like there's too many people jumping on board the Afrofuturism train?
Nah, because the more Black people are engaging in creativity, the better. Like that is, I mean, that's who we are. We are creators. Like we create beauty, we create life, we create art, we create. Just period. So the more of us, you know, are getting involved into it, I think it can only be for the better. And you know, there's always levels of everything. There's an entry level, there's a fledgling level of engagement that people will have, you know, in the arts. And, you know, but I mean, there are us who, we've been doing it for, you know, so long. There's always going to be a level of, I guess, you know, expertise, and I don't want to say like elitism, but I mean that's a thing. So you know, I mean, maybe it does feel like, you know, more casual, I guess, pedestrian involvement kind of waters it down for everybody. But I mean, I see beauty in that because at some point I was that kid, like, you know, and I had to start somewhere. Yeah, you know, we all had to start somewhere, and you know, I mean, I remember like I used to manage like rap artists. We had like a whole little, you know, thing going here in Columbia years back, and I remember us, you know, thought we was gonna take over the rap game at this little, you know, showcase where we, you know, somebody had to pay $15 to get 7 minutes on stage with 30 other rappers in one night. You know what I'm saying?
That's like a bar exam. Sounds like the bar exam.
What's that?
It's like a competition pretty much like that.
Oh yeah.
People just have to get on. Well, actually, anybody can get on the mic.
$15 for 7 minutes ain't bad though.
Yeah.
I would never. I would never. But see, that's the thing too, that, you know, unfortunately, I think a lot of Black artists and Black creatives have to contend with is people who are going out of their way to just make money off of artists instead of finding ways to cultivate creativity and give back to artists, because, you know, and make it easier for them, because I mean, creating can be hard. It is hard. It's a whole thing, and I guess that particularly it's a really Western way in which we perceive art and artists and creativity, because everything just seems like a product to consume.
I would say it's a Western way, and that's also just a way of people who aren't creatives seeing potential of something, either something being like the new wave or becoming the new wave. Yeah. So they just try to profit off it, and they figure like artists, y'all gonna be creating anyway. So like, why not let me use it for da.
Yeah, you know, and it leaves a lot of us out in the cold, you know, and it's just like, you know, it seems like, oh, okay, somebody has to, you know, they can pay me $15 or whatever, pay me whatever, and you go get to perform, you know, 7 minutes worth of songs, and that's 7 minutes worth of song. Like, how much time actually went into recording that.
Exactly.
So, so I think that people, a lot of times look at, our creative output solely as their own experience,
right,
and don't quite realize how much went into that. So for me to,
So just like anything.
yeah,
so work in it.
yeah, so like for you to experience this 3-minute bop, do you know how much time went into creating this? Where through writing the song, through producing the instrumentals, to actually recording it, the mixing, the mastering, all the paperwork that had to go behind, getting everything copyrighted and published properly, and then account for the artist's expertise and the years it took for them to get to that point. And everything that goes into that, and the same thing can be said for fine art, where, okay, you're viewing this piece on the wall, but, do you know how much went into me getting to everything that culminated to me getting to this point of having this piece of art on the wall? So that's why I want, $500 or $5,000 for this piece of art, because, and it holds value, and I think a lot of people don't realize, or and they don't want to accept the value because it just seems consumable. It just seems like something you just go down real quick.
Especially when I look at the I'm not sure what the exact name of it. When you collage art, when you do it in as physically, cut stuff out.
Cut paste, yeah.
When I see how much work you put into it, of course I went to Renee Cox's exhibit, and I was gonna say, how in the world